What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on RotoGrinders. Happy to be with you talking golf for the final time in calendar year 2024. We've got the RSM Classic to close out the regular season, or the wraparound season, whatever you want to call it, with the weird PGA Tour schedule these days. But that's another story. The good news is we at least have a reasonable field this week for the RSM tournament that's been contested down in Georgia for the better part of a couple decades now. So it is an event that maybe carries a little bit more prestige than some of the other ones we've seen this fall. We'll break it down here for you here on this Tuesday evening. I am Justin Van Zuiden, as usual, joined by Mr. Notorious, Derek Farnsworth. Noto, how you been?
Yeah, doing good. I'm excited for the upcoming break. I'm excited for the holiday season. Always my favorite time of year. But yeah, we get a good field this week. We get Shot Tracker for one of the first two rounds and then the final two rounds. So yeah, I'm pumped and had a decent week last week. How about you?
Yeah, awesome. It wasn't my best week. It was a weird tournament, and it kind of showed in the final leaderboard there last week. Just a kind of a hodgepodge of names that you wouldn't have expected to be at the top of a PGA Tour event. But, sometimes that happens with these weird fall swing events. Rafael Campos should be no surprise. He always comes out of nowhere in these events that are held outside the United States. Ends up getting the win by 3 strokes over Andrew Novak. Mark Hubbard, who was earlier in the year basically a guy that made all the cuts but didn't have a top finish. Does finally connect with a T3. Ben Griffin was probably the biggest name there inside the top 10, finishing in 8th place. But kind of a weird leaderboard there last week. But Campos gets the win. And, what we say about these events, sometimes a win can, really make a huge difference for a guy in their career. And this probably will for him, I would imagine.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't see that coming, but we probably should have seen it coming. I mean, he top 10s these every time, and then he goes on a little top 10 run and, guarantees him more starts moving forward. So now he's got his PGA Tour card. Pretty cool story. Obviously wasn't on him, but definitely happy to see him win.
Yeah, and I did not go back and look. Was he in like the 200-1 range, I would imagine, last week?
Yeah, it had to have been at least that.
At least. So anyway, kudos to him for the win. I would think we'll see maybe a better quote unquote leaderboard. Not to disparage anybody that was up there last week, but as Noto mentioned, we do kind of have a stronger field this week. Some more. It's not as strong as maybe I would have expected, but some names that we haven't seen as much during the fall will be partaking this weekend. So you'll get to see some old friends, I guess, that you played a little bit more over the summer. In the field this week, but it's not by any means to the strength of a major or anything like that. I think there was a pretty big event on the DP World Tour last week. Yeah, Rory ended up winning by a couple shots, but guys like Shane Lowry, Adam Scott played in that event over on the DP World Tour. I had some of the live guys in there as well. Hatton and Neiman finishing inside the top 10. And this is where we've talked about a lot of times the disparity between the tours. The guys that have left for the live tour, these fall events are really where you kind of start to see it. And I think you wrote in your survey this week that the fall season's kind of dragged on a little bit for you. And I don't know, it just it's disappointing that we kind of have to feel that way with the state of golf these days.
Yeah, it's not great. Hopefully they can get something worked out. Rory was saying once Trump won that would pave a path for a deal to get done with the PIF. I don't really know if that's true or not, but hopefully something gets done soon and we can get all these guys back together. But one cool story, Wesley Bryan ended up finishing in the top 20 last week. So he finished 125th in the FedEx Cup Fall. At least that's where he's at right now. So he will have whatever status that gets him. He'll be on tour. So I'm excited for that. I watched a couple of his videos that came out this week, and he was saying that his game was in shambles and that he wasn't excited for the 3-week stretch of tournaments that he had coming up. And he ended up crushing in all of them. So kind of funny how golf works.
It goes to show that you never know. The game can turn around in a moment's notice, and kudos to him for putting together a really strong stretch of golf. And we've kind of been on him a little bit during that stretch as well. So that's always a plus as well. And we're able to benefit from that a little bit. He'll be in the field this week as well. And that stretch, the last 3 tournaments that he's played in this fall, 13th, 37th, and 21st. So after a string of miscuts in the spring and summer, I'm sure that's a relief for him to be playing some of the best golf that we've seen from him in quite some time. We are going to try to do a snake draft tonight. Again, it's our last show here before the winter break. We've made kind of half-hearted attempts to try it the last few weeks. But if you're around and you want to do a snake draft at the end of the show, pop a message into our YouTube chat. Or if you're watching us, some other way, head over there maybe at some point and pop a message in the YouTube chat just so I can try to gauge interest. I'm going to try to put a tweet out too, kind of when we're in the middle of discussing the golfers to try to get some people to hop over and join. So we'll try to do that. No promises, but I'll make a better effort at trying to fill one this week once we get closer to the end of the analysis. So, all right, let's turn our attention then to this week with the RSM Classic. Noto briefly mentioned earlier, 2 courses in play this week. That's because we're really starting to run out of daylight hours. Those of you that are stateside and, not in the southernmost part of the country, it gets dark here at like 4:15. I hate it. I'm with Noto. I like the holiday season, but I don't like it getting dark at 4:15. By like 7 o'clock, it feels like it's time to go to bed.
Yeah, I hate it too. The kids are ready to go to bed, but my one kid is ready to go to bed at like 7, but then he's up at, the butt crack of dawn at 6 a.m., waking me up. So, yeah, I don't love it either. And it's cold and it's already snowing here. So, excited for this holidays, but that's not the weather in the daylight.
Yeah. So, in order to get everybody through the course with enough daylight hours, they've always utilized a second course because of the time period where this one is played. For the first and second rounds, the golfers will play 1 round on the plantation course and 1 round on the host seaside course. And then once they get through the cut on the weekend, it's just the seaside course that is used. So if your golfers make the cut, they will play 3 of their 4 rounds on the host course, just the 1 round on the plantation course. So what do we know about these courses?
Yeah, so they're both short par 70 or both short Bermuda green courses. The seaside course, which is the course that they'll play 3 of the 4 rounds. It is par 70, 7,005 yards. Fairways are wide. The greens are big. We typically see very high driving accuracy and green regulation right there. Last year was 78%, which was one of the highest we've seen all year. And water's in play on 13 of the holes. It's just one of those courses where you kind of got to get in and play off the tee. It's more of a second shot and in type of course. Accuracy has been more predictive here than driving distance, and I think that just goes to show the type of course that it is, where you don't have to bomb it out there. You just got to keep it in play. And then the plantation course should be a little bit easier in terms of score relative to par because it is a par 72. So there's going to be 4 par 5s for golfers to feast on. I do think if you're playing showdown, you probably want to give a lean to the guys playing the plantation course. Maybe not 100%, but it will play a little bit easier. At least it usually does. And that course as well, Bermuda greens, just over 7,000 yards. Water's in play on 10 of those holes. So, yeah, it should be another birdie fest. The winning score here, each of the last 5 years, has been minus 19. And like you mentioned, full field. So getting 66 is going to be tough this week.
Yeah, and I believe 29 under last year for a winning score, and it's not expected to be super windy this week. So I would say we'll probably see good scoring conditions and plenty of birdies. And yeah, with 156 golfers for probably the first time since July-ish, That's it's more than the 120 that we've had, 132 in some of these recent weeks, because we've got that second course utilized to take advantage of all the daylight possible in the first 2 days. And with you kind of on the metrics to look at, certainly a second shot and in course, and the Plantation course as a par 72 is not a whole lot longer than the Seaside course. And as Noto mentioned, with the 2 extra par 5s, does tend to play a little bit easier relative to par, with it being a par 72. So, all right, let's dig in. We've got 3 golfers above 10K this week, so one more than what we've had the last few weeks. Ludwig Oberg, mentioned, I believe he's the defending champ here, with that 29 under par score last year. But this is his first start in about 2.5 months. Had a knee procedure done in the interim, so this is his first start back. He is 11.2K on DraftKings. Obviously the most talented guy in the field, but could be rusty. Obviously had some work done. It's not like he was just sitting around and hitting golf balls the whole time. So probably worth a discussion on his own here with the injury concern or the rust concern, whatever you want to paint it as. But what are you doing with him this week?
I'm probably not going to play him. I don't think his ownership is going to be nearly as high as what we have it at right now. I just don't think a lot of people are willing to play guys coming off of an injury. You mentioned it, like after a knee procedure, you can't just be practicing a lot of golf. I'm sure there was some recovery time in there. I'm not really sure why he's teeing it up this week. Maybe it's just because he felt obligated since he's a defending champ. I'm excited to see him back, on the course, but I don't think you need to prioritize him. I like the balance build a little bit better on DraftKings anyway. And yeah, just the fact that he hasn't played in so long worries me.
I mean, could also be he's just trying to gauge where he's at, in his recovery and how he feels, plus the defending champ, obligations, as you mentioned. It could just be more of a test run, try some things out, see how he's feeling. So in a cash game, in a single entry, he is not going to be in there for me, and I feel pretty good about it. I do agree that his ownership will end up being a little bit lower than what our models have, which obviously is, mainly considering the stats and may need to be manually adjusted just a bit for the layoff and the injury risk. But in GPPs, I will still have some. I don't want him to break my week. Certainly, if he's on his game, he has the ability to dominate and did here last year. So, but in a single entry build, he's probably not making it there for me this week. I would rather save the $800 and go to Davis Thompson, who has just been playing spectacular golf. Another guy that we haven't seen as much. He did play one event here during the fall, and that was the Shriners. That's the one that's out in Vegas. Finished T5 in that event and hasn't missed a cut going back to May, end of May, beginning of June. Had a 9th at the U.S. Open, 2nd at the Rocket Mortgage, got his first win at the John Deere, 12th at the Wyndham for the playoffs. So Thompson's been playing great golf and doesn't have the same type of concerns that Oberg has, and you save a little money with him. So you mentioned you like the balance build. Are you going with Thompson or McCarthy to start with, or are you just starting down in the 9s?
I think I'm starting in the 9s. I do like the Thompson call. He's definitely my favorite above 10K. He hasn't played great here for whatever reason, but the fact that he's played here so many times, is he a Sea Island guy maybe?
Yeah, I think he might be.
I mean, half the field is basically Sea Island Mafia at this point, but yeah, he's played here each of the last 5 years, so obviously he's a lot better now than he was back then. And then Denny, I mean, he has the exact same stat profile as Mackenzie Hughes, and he's, $1,200 more. So if I'm playing somebody that is just going to gain all their strokes with the short game, I'll go down to Mackenzie Hughes, who I like. And I get the course history. He's got 3 top 10s here, but he hasn't played in at least 10 weeks from what I'm seeing. And the approach game just has really fallen off over the last 6 months. So I'm probably not going to be playing any Denny or Ludwig. And then in my main lineup, I'll probably start in the 9s.
So, fun fact that I literally just learned, Davis Thompson's dad is the tournament director.
That makes sense.
So yeah, I'd say they're fairly local. Obviously a Georgia connection. So, that is fascinating. I did not know that until literally 10 seconds ago. It's blown my mind. Todd Thompson, his dad is the tournament director. So, I guess that's why he's Probably played here before he was a pro. There's a sponsor invite or something with those connections, but that's kind of cool. So I don't know what that means. He's been the tournament director for multiple years, so it's not like it changes much.
Producer Steve said the fix is in.
The fix is in. He's got all the pin sheets already. He knows where everything's going to be every day. The conspiracy will hit hard now if that ends up coming to fruition. I'm fine starting in the 9s as well, but anybody with single entry build, if I'm going over 10, it'll be with Thompson. But let's go ahead and go into that 9K range. Got Brian Harmon, Siwoo Kim back in the field this week. And then some other guys that have kind of been mainstays here during the fall. Ben Griffin, Seamus Power, McNeely. We've seen those guys quite a bit. Where are you looking at in that 9K range if you're starting a lineup there?
Yeah, my favorite two are Ben Griffin, Seamus Power in the lower 9Ks. Ben Griffin, we've seen him a ton, like you mentioned. He's got top 25s in 4 of his last 5 starts. He was T8 last week. Number 1 in the field in strokes gained per round on Bermuda courses. Number 2 in strokes gained per round on easy courses. And number 5 on strokes gained per round on short courses. He was also T8 here last year. So I do love Ben Griffin. Seamus Power, back-to-back top 5 finishes at this event. He's been playing pretty well in the fall. Don't mind looking at him. He's got 4 top 25s in his last 5 starts too. I'll never say no to Brian Harmon, my dude. Plus, he's a Georgia Bulldog, so I'm sure he's very familiar with the course and the event. Poston's coming off the win. I don't hate the course fit, but I don't know. He's only played once in the last 10 weeks, and it was a win. It's kind of a out of nowhere win.
Pretty good ratio. Pretty good start to win ratio.
Yeah. Maybe you can go 2 for 2. And then large field stuff, I like Matt Wallace all the way down to 9,000. He typically plays his best in Florida on the shorter Bermuda courses. And if you look at his form over on the DP World Tour, he's been on fire. He had a win 10 weeks ago, and then he's got 7 straight made cuts since then with a couple top 11s. So I think he's interesting for large field stuff, but I really like the range as a whole.
Yeah, I think this range is great to get a couple guys from. Probably off of Kim here, but Harmon, I don't mind, especially because, he hasn't played in 3 months. His finishes weren't anything to write home about right before that. I don't think a ton of people are going to, absolutely think he's a must play there. Maybe slips in between the cracks of the top 3 guys and the other guys in this 9K range. So I like Harmon, certainly like Griffin. I mean, I've been playing Griffin most every week this fall. Been writing him up in my articles. He hasn't really given me a reason to change that. So I like him. Those are probably my 2 favorites at 98 and 93. I will sprinkle the other 3 guys below Griffin. That'd be Power, McNeely, and Wallace into my GPP builds. I don't have a strong take on them. Your call on Wallace. Wallace is interesting because he played a lot on the PGA Tour throughout the summer, and then after the playoffs during the fall swing, he went over to the DP World Tour, as you mentioned, and his finishes over there basically since the previous PGA Tour season ended, he's been playing every week. 8th win, 12th, 24th, 43rd, 37th, 20th, 3rd, and 11th on the DP World Tour, and some of those are in pretty strong fields. Definitely stronger than what we've seen on the PGA Tour during this time. And a lot of people are going to see Matt Wallace at 9K and figure, well, back when Matt Wallace was playing over the summer, he was like 7,500. So I think Wallace is really interesting here.
Yeah, I like it too. And I didn't see what happened last week, but I listened to I can't remember what podcast, but they were saying he choked on Sunday. So he must have been in the mix and then finished T11.
Talking about Wallace.
Yeah.
He did shoot his worst round of the week on Sunday, but it was only a couple shots worse than the others. So I didn't look at the scorecard to see or catch the end of it, but obviously finished a few shots back there at the end and ended up, it looks like 7 shots or so behind Rory. So doesn't seem like that would be an epic choke job unless he happened to shoot like 6 under on the front and 6 over on the back or something like that. But I might have to check out that scorecard. But in any case, I think he's fine.
Yeah.
Anything else on the 9s?
I think that's it for me. McNeely's been playing well, but I like him out west a little bit more.
All right, let's go ahead and move into the 8K range then. We've got another Georgia boy, Harris English, leading this range off. A couple of guys that are back that we haven't seen as much lately. Clanton, Eric Cole back in the mix this week. Eckroat has come off some strong performances of his own. Won the Worldwide Technology Championship a few weeks back. So obviously coming off of a win a couple weeks ago, people get a little bit nervous to play him, but seems like he's still hungry for more. You got JJ Spawn, Lucas Glover, Andrew Novak, Doug Gim. So guys in the 8Ks that were maybe closer to 9 in some previous weeks also kind of helps with that balanced type approach. Who are you looking at in the 8Ks?
Yeah, so I bet Eric Cole this week at 40-1, and probably because I bet him every week. But when I was doing his write-up, I always quote how many times he's won on the minor league tour. So I figured I should probably go look it up. So he's won 56 times on the minor league tour in his career. And then he's got 2 runner-ups and 2 third place finishes on the PGA Tour. He was T3 here last year, T6 in his last start during the fall. And he's one of those guys that he's bad off the tee and elite everywhere else. So on a second shot and in golf course, I think he's a strong play. I like Mackenzie Hughes quite a bit as well. The iron play typically isn't good. He's the best putter in the field. He's also top 3 and around the green. 2 second-place finishes here, but missed the cut last week when he was like 10K. I think it's a good bounce-back spot for him, especially since he gained 3.2 and 6.8 strokes on approach in his other 2 starts this fall. So maybe he's figured something out with the irons. And then the model likes Glover and Gim. I don't like them as much as the model does. I'll probably play a lot of JJ Spawn instead because he's been consistent and he's been really solid at this event with 3 straight top 20s.
Yeah, Spawn, I think, is a really interesting case this week. Like the write-up that you did on him, so it kind of sold me a little bit on playing some of him at that price. I don't mind going back to Cole and Clanton at like 2 to 3% in GPPs. I think is fine as a sprinkle as well. I know Justin Bailey really likes him a good bit. Steve mentioned in the YouTube chat, lots of tags in this range in our lineup HQ tool. Looks like we've got one tag on 5 or 6 consecutive guys in there, and then a couple tags on Novak at the bottom of the range as well. Novak's the guy that I like a lot. He is one of my favorites in the 8Ks myself. Was pretty close, if not for Campos getting a win last week, and he's been playing pretty consistent golf during the fall stretch as well. Was 3 shots behind Campos last week, had a T16 at the Zozo back a few weeks prior as well. 3 pretty strong finishes in a row for Novak. So I like him at 8,100. We'll have some exposure to English at the top of this range as well. Another guy who is obviously plays here a ton, and he's coming in with much better form this time than he has in kind of previous seasons where he kind of sputtered until we got to this event. Comes in this time with a pair of top 10s and 3 consecutive top 20 finishes in his last 3 starts. So English and Novak are probably my 2 favorites in here. I'll probably sprinkle in Cole, Clanton, Spawn as well. So it is a really strong range. The good news is that you can still manage a guy or 2 in here, even if you're like starting with Davis Thompson. Like if I go Thompson, Spawn, and Novak, for example, I've still got 7,700 on average for my other 3 golfers, which is perfectly doable. You can maybe even get another guy in this 8K range. So, and obviously they're accessible if you're doing a completely balanced build. You could take 6 guys, 5 guys in the 8K range if you wanted to. So I like those approaches this week. Anything else for you on the 8K range?
I have a take on Patrick Rogers. He's been playing pretty well. He was T10 here last time. He just doesn't seem – I like him on like courses where he just hit a ton of drivers and got that accurate. But
yeah, I don't love him on this course for that. I mean, it's not a driver-heavy course. He tends to be a little bit inconsistent. So, yeah, I think I'm off of him this week. All right. Here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to post a snake draft like now while we're in the middle of the analysis. Then we can give it some time to fill. Let's see what we got going on. So if you're in the YouTube chat, and I'll post a tweet as well when we join, you want to do a snake draft this week, let's try to fill one. There's a $5. That's 0 out of 6 right now. So I'm going to join that. And then we don't have to We don't have to change the screen share or anything just yet. So, Steve, you can keep up the lineup HQ for now. If we end up filling this, I can pivot over and we can just do the snake draft whenever it fills. So,
are you in it already?
I think I just did. No, I didn't. There we go. Now I'm in. I'm one of 6.
Okay. Already got 3.
Oh, people are you one of the 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got 1 besides us.
We got 1 poor soul that knows they can take our money. And I'm going to put a post on X. All right, let's make sure. Okay, we're still at 3 of 6. So I'm going to post that, and then I'll leave that there for a minute, and we'll see what happens. And while we are waiting for that to fill, we can go ahead and talk about the 7K range, where there is a bit of drop-off. We've got some inconsistent guys, Keith Mitchell, Adam Svensson. Just haven't seen much from them lately. Matt McCarty, who came up from the Korn Ferry Tour after getting 3 wins, has won a PGA Tour event and has had a couple shaky finishes as well. Justin Lower, Sam Stevens, Fishburne, Bridgman. These are guys that we have seen quite a bit throughout the fall season. Mark Hubbard, I mentioned, finally got a top finish last week. Who are you looking at kind of in this 75 and up range?
Yeah, not as strong of a range for me. It's kind of why I like the balance build a little bit more. But Bridgman's a guy that's been playing great, back-to-back top 15 finishes. He's got a really good short game, one of the best around the green and putting. So I do think he's a pretty good course fit. I don't know. Straka is interesting because, he was a lot more expensive than this. We haven't seen a lot of him. I think he was almost dead last at the Tour Championship. But 7,900 for me at sub 10% ownership. I like him in tournaments. I got to get your take on Keith Mitchell. Seems like we have to play him.
I cannot do it with Keith Mitchell, man. Not right now. It's been too bad.
I know. He was 10K and I was playing him. And now he's 79 at a course he likes.
Should be 5,900.
I agree. I'm not going to play him in my main lineup this week, but I do think I got to play a little bit.
I mean, he's had like 75, 74s. We've seen like one good round and then a blow up round. I don't know. It's been so bad that I can't do it. I understand the logic behind the salary and all that stuff. But the last time when he was chalk and blew up, and then last time I made the case for now he's not chalk, and it was like this wide open driver heavy course that was super great for Keith Mitchell, and he bombed again. And now it's not a driver heavy course, and I can't. I got to see something before I hop that train again. So I'm out on Mitchell. If that makes your case to play him because you think I'm a jinx, then play him. But I think I'm out until we see something. I wouldn't argue against a large field GPP sprinkle if you're playing 50 entries or something like that. But single entry, I don't think I can take the heartburn.
He was missing those 70-yard wide fairways the last time.
I know. It was horrible. Just can't do it. So McCarty, I don't mind going back to that. Well, Bridgman, there's nobody that really stands out as elite in here, but these guys I will sprinkle into my GPP pool for sure. And then, as we go to the lower part of the 7K range, Joe Highsmith is a guy I really like a lot. Hasn't missed a cut in any of his 5 starts this fall. Has gone T6, T16, T5 his last 3 starts. I think Highsmith is a guy that I like a lot this week at that salary. Whaley as well at 7,300 has really good short game numbers. So if you think this is a birdie fest that turns into a putting contest, Whaley is a really good putter. So he doesn't have the best tee to green numbers, but the short game is on point. So if you think it turns into a birdie fest, Whaley's a guy I like. What are you looking at in the bottom part, of that 7K range?
Yeah, I'll go back to Andrew Putnam, kind of like the Brian Harmon Lite, if you will, and that hits fairways and approach game's good, around the green's good, putter's good. missed the cut on the number last week. I always don't mind when that happens, especially if it leads to lower ownership. Seems like a good course fit for him. And then Grayson Sigg's been playing well, top 25s in 4 of his last 5, including a couple top 5 finishes. Back-to-back top 15s at this event too. Vince Whaley's on my radar. And then, I don't know, can we play some Brendan Todd? He's been pretty bad, but he's a Georgia guy.
Yeah, I don't hate it at that. I mean, he's cheap enough. I think Todd is definitely a guy that you can look at that salary. I mean, this is not a course where you got to really hit it long off the tee. So, I mean, not a core guy for me by any means, but he did stick out to me at that salary as well. 7,100. I think he's fine at that number for sure. And then, I'm okay continuing to play Wesley Bryan too. Norlander's a guy I've played a lot this fall, so I'm okay staying in those guys as well.
How's Brian been here? Okay, 1 for 1, T44. This is a course where bad driving worries me, but I mean, if he can hit less than driver off the course, it could be a great course for him.
Yeah. All right. We are filled in the snake draft, which is pretty impeccable timing. So we do have to talk about the 6Ks, but there's really not a whole lot there. The clock is counting down. We've got like 2 minutes until the snake draft starts, and then I'll share my screen with it. But anything that's standing out in the 6Ks, Compost is still in the 6Ks if you want to ride the wave.
If I'm building one lineup, I will not be going down there. Zach Blair is a good course fit. He was terrible on Thursday and then had like 6 or 7 under on Friday. Missed the cut on the number last week. Maybe look at KH Lee, but I'm not.
Yeah, Lee was the one guy that I kind of noted, but I mean, it's nothing must play or anything like that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. With that, we are a minute away from the start of the snake draft. Noto is picking second. I am picking 5th. And I will share my screen.
Yeah, I'm excited to get some better fields so we can play the 6Ks again. Like, we don't even talk about it anymore, and that's half the field.
Yeah, that's just how it's been with the watered down nature of the fields these days.
They should make the good golfers like 14K and the bad golfers like
really
5.
make you go down there.
Yeah. It would keep my 5 to 6 lineup every week alive. I can't get 6 to 6.
All right, J3 in the YouTube chat says that he's in this week. So Playmaker 23 in the YouTube chat says he's joined and he got pick number 1. So he's Scotty Bean. J3 has the 3rd pick there. Also rocking the RotoGrinders logo. Tug Rules, regular in the snake drafts, is back with us tonight as well. So we'll see where the final week takes us. Noto, just in case, you're up.
Okay, Ben Griffin. Reaching.
Well, he wouldn't be there when he come back. Oh, man. Did not expect Davis Thompson to fall to me at number 5, but I will happily take that.
Yeah, that's nice.
Tug Rules goes Harmon and Cole on the turn. And then I will... I don't know whether to go with Power or Wallace. I'm going to chicken out on Wallace. Maybe Wallace will still be around for you. And you can.
I was going to say, he might be there on the way back to you.
I doubt it. He's 10.
I think this is a good Siwoo course, but I haven't seen enough of them.
TBD on whether Siwoo will shoot a 65 or an 80 to start things off.
All right, I'm just playing my guys.
I'll pull up the draft board here. There we go. Wallace and Siwoo Kim on that second and third round turn there. And it's back to Noto. Spawn. Staying on brand here this week with the guys you like.
Yep. Not hedging this week.
Ooh, I would have taken English, but all right. Poston's still there at 17. I guess I got to take him. I probably won't play him too much in DFS this week, so that'll be my hedge on that. Boy, I don't really like him. This is the range I don't really like. I'll go with Gim. Probably won't have too much exposure to a lot of those guys that were available there for me.
We can talk about Kuchar course.
It is a Kuchar course, and he obviously played a little bit better in the later part of the summer. Played a couple fall swing events with mixed results. I don't know. I still haven't played him probably in like 3 years, so it's probably bias, I guess. Ageism.
I haven't played him either. Ever since he screwed over that caddy, I just was out on Kuchar.
That's right. That's where the bias is baked in. Screwed over the caddy, and then he made everybody come back on a Monday for one hole when everybody else was finished.
Yeah.
All right, rolling through round number 5 here. Be 3 picks to go. I will go with Highsmith here. A lot of these, we'll see how far Mitchell falls from where he's. Oh, didn't fall at all. Got picked right after me. Mitchell and Berger, there's a couple of risk-reward picks there. Go with Bridgman here. Have you been to a Utah hockey game yet?
I haven't. Been too busy. I need to get out, though. I was excited to track them, and I just haven't even. Are they any good? I saw they won
I'll tell you in 10 seconds. Let's see if I can find them. There they are. They are 7 wins, 8 losses, and 3 overtime losses. So below average so far.
They're not still undefeated.
They are not still undefeated. That's your turn, just in case I've sidetracked you.
Okay, let's go. Big. I got all my guys. Let's go.
The best record currently belongs to the Winnipeg Jets at 15-3. There you go.
That would have been my guess.
15-3 on a streak of 2 losses in a row. That means they were 15-1, if my math is correct. All right. Final pick for me is going to be, you know what? He's done good for us over the fall, so we'll go with Wesley Bryan here. We got a bench spot. And Tug Rules will close us out with Gary Woodland. So there you go. Is that a goal horn? Or was it just the end of draft horn?
Shade 3 says my team is amazing. I'm not sure if he's talking about my hockey team or my golf team, but hopefully my golf team.
I was thrown off by the horn. It could have been a goal horn, and then I wasn't sure whether Steve did the horn or if DraftKings always does that at the end of a snake draft, and I just didn't usually have my sound on. That's the first time I've heard a horn. I don't know. It threw me for a second. But all right, Thompson, Power, Poston, Gim, Highsmith, Bridgman, and Wesley Bryan for me. Noto's got Griffin, Hughes, Spawn, Kirk, Glover, Putnam, and Sig. And J3 says your team is amazing. Now, if I've learned anything from these over the 3 or 4 years that we've done them, it's that when your teams look really good, those are the ones that always tank. So, now you're probably you're probably doomed for 6th place or something like that.
Hopefully not, because I think 5 of the 7 have my tags this week.
You think what?
5 of the 7 of my draft picks are my tags on lineup HQ.
Hey, that's okay. That's sticking with what you're putting out there. So no problem with that at all. So if it's a good week in the snake draft, it's probably a good week in the DFS streets. Doesn't always work like that, but we will see. Well, as always, appreciate all of you checking us out. We will be back in January. There's a Tournament of Champions to start things off. We usually don't do a show for that because it's only like 30 golfers. But then the first full field event after that is the second week of January, is the Sony Open, and that is usually when we'll be back with you pretty much nonstop throughout the winter/spring months. The calendar is pretty front loaded on the PGA Tour these days with big events in March and April. So we'll be back with you in January. Before you leave us for the last time, be sure to hit the thumbs up button on the YouTube stream if you haven't done that already. We greatly appreciate that. And we'll be back with you in January. So thanks as always for watching. Thanks to Noto for joining me. Thanks to Steve for working hard and producing for us behind the scenes every week. We'll catch you all after the first of the year. Have a great holiday season and stay safe, everybody. We'll see you later.